Well, educational research today cites the quality of teacher conversations as significant in the development of good schools. So I'm really happy to invite Orlando to one of these conversations today. So what I want to know is, what is a learning experience like for a young child at Trinity in VPK in kindergarten?
I think it's very hands-on and interactive.
A collaboration, I think, with the children and the teachers. The teachers are acting, they're not necessarily in front of the children all the time teaching them, they're facilitating their learning.
Mm-hmm. And the students also learn from one another
Absolutely.
in the classroom,
Mm-hmm.
so they can sometimes learn a lot more from each other that way.
I would agree. We have a lot of opportunities where the teacher or the children are the teachers. You know, they get to decide what, you know, going forward, what we're learning, where they want to take a subject.
Patty used a word that kind of struck me. So you said facilitate. There's a lot of facilitation. What other words would you think would be important to help people understand what happens in a young program?
It's very involved, it's interactive, it's collaborative, so they're working together, they're working with teachers, they're working with other students in other classrooms to complete projects. Several of our VPK classrooms actually use a project approach, so the children decide what it is what they want to learn about in the beginning of the year, and that project will carry them for at least a semester. Mm-hmm. And then there's a big presentation at the end to show what they've learned and how they learned it, and that's always really fun to watch. It's because so much learning happens that sometimes you're not even aware that you're teaching.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. What other words?
Center-based.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in the early childhood, that they have to be, like you said, interacting, and they have to be able to manipulate what they're learning, whether it's a math skill and they are using shapes to build an object, or if it's a reading skill and they're sounding out a word by putting the letter tiles out as they go, and playing games to build to read their words and to sound it out. But center-based, I think, is also social, so that they're working together, like you said, collaborative. So that they're helping each other grow and learn and having fun while they do it, but it's like a focused fun.
Yeah, everything's concrete. It's right.
Yes.
They can touch it.
Right, right. They also use the technology, with the iPads or the Chromebooks, and they're not just on it themselves. They're also working with each other, and there's games on there where they're playing against one another, and so that helps them with their learning as well.
I would say outreach. Like, we do a lot of community outreach. We're riding the Sunrail. We're going to the Dr. Phillips Center,
The library.
the library downtown,
Lake Eola to sing.
Lake Eola. Even just on our own campus, Compassion Corner, reaching out to the homeless community, just really teaching the kids that about their surroundings.
Yeah, we're very blessed to have so many different resources around us, the different museums like Bob Carr and, like you said, Dr. Phillips and all. A lot of schools don't have that, and they're all pretty much within walking distance or just a quick bus ride to where they get to have those experiences.
And they can even come to us, because the History Center is coming to kindergarten and VPK this year to do a puppet show, so you can go there, but they can also come to our campus.
Yeah, there's so much in the downtown area that allows it to be a classroom in itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that I could have facilitated the project approach learning as well as we did without our community. If we didn't have, when we did our restaurant project, if we couldn't walk to Panera and go in their, walk-in refrigerator and see where they store food, and if we couldn't have our art gallery without going to the Grand Bohemian and going to their art gallery and experiencing that hands-on and hearing straight from an author or an artist, it wouldn't have gone as far as it did.
Well, you guys even went to Publix and purchased food and then made sandwiches for the homeless. So, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to key in on that idea of outreach then, because some might wonder about the ethos or the foundation or the traditions of a Lutheran church and Lutheran education then. So what do children learn about God and what do they learn about faith in our classrooms?
I think one of the major things they learn is that Jesus loves us, and they learn that from infancy all the way through 8th grade, that no matter what, Jesus loves us, that we're all sinners. And I think the other big part is forgiveness, that they learn forgiveness here. And that's a hard thing for little kids sometimes to learn. And so being able to use the best example in the entire world as God of what true forgiveness is really helps them to understand how to interact amongst themselves, as well as what Jesus has done for us.
Yeah. Where the kids are going out, they're singing at Lutheran Towers, they're visiting the fire department when they brought cards or cookies, so they're reaching out to the people in the community and letting them know that they're being God's hands and feet right here in the downtown area.
The fruits of the Spirit from the Bible is something that the VPK really centers on when you talk about character of children then. So how does that conception of fruits of the Spirit kind of filter through to the K-8 program?
We continue to talk about the fruit of the Spirit. Lately it's been a lot about patience, the fruit we've been studying a lot lately. But it's just really nice to have those solid base traits from the Bible, so that when you're talking to a kid about how to act, I think in the early childhood, more so than academics, they're learning social and emotional growth. And to have those concrete, like we've talked about before, examples of what it means to be a child of God, what it means to be a good citizen, and talk about patience and kindness and goodness and faithfulness and so on and so forth. So we were able to continue that from the VPK through.
And learning through action, not just word, makes it so much
Yep.
more meaningful for them, because they need to be doing it to actually learn and carry it through their life.
Teaching them what it is, and then being able to use those words, patience and goodness and being kind to your friends. And another big one is self-control.
Self-control.
Your self-control, and showing them what it means to have self-control. And I know there was a teacher that used to work here, and she went on to a public school, and she said that was one of the hardest things, was not being able to use the fruit of the Spirit to explain that to a child and explain, just being a good person using God to teach them.
Yeah.
That was very difficult for her. She even called me and said, I don't know how to say that to them anymore, that we just used that so much and it made so much sense. She said she struggled with teaching them those, lessons about being kind and good.
One of the things we do, and when somebody apologizes to someone, of course it's I'm sorry, and instead of saying it's okay, because it's really not okay, but using the words I forgive you, which is what Christ does for us every time we fall short, he forgives us. So them hearing those words I forgive you, I think has an impact on them, and they learn that okay, God loves me, and so does my classmates, and so does my teacher.
And I think that brings a lot more healing to a child than that's okay. When they say, I forgive you, they really understand what, I did something wrong, I hurt that person, but they do, like you said, still love me. And hearing those words is a lot more important than hearing that's okay.
Right.
So talking about that forgiveness.
Okay, we're going to move from fruits to food. What a segue, right? So we have this Healthy Foods Initiative along with New Moors. So how does that help the development of children?
I mean, I don't think you can talk about the whole child and not include nutrition. For the whole implementation of that program included us changing menus and working with parents on the types of food that they sent in. We removed juice from the program, which is so high in sugar. I just think it's helped in countless ways, and we still don't know all the ways that it's just has benefited our children, our staff.
And I think it's also getting children to broaden their horizons and their food. And I've heard a lot of parents say, they ate that today? And I'm like, yes, they did. And so you can try it at home. So, introducing those vegetables and those fruits, but just that it's not peanut butter jelly, chicken nuggets, mac and cheese, getting them to try new things and deciding what they do like and what they don't like. And that helps them grow too. They can really have a choice in that and what they like.
Right. Having those polite bites,
Yes.
even it's like, well, go ahead and try it, And I
So
found
many
that a
of my
lot of them,
students will look at it and say, I don't like that. And I'll say, well, try it. And they'll try it and they'll be like, it's really good. And
right,
just-
exactly.
You have to give it a chance. So I think the Healthy Food Initiative has really helped them give it a chance.
So we've talked a little bit about young children, but school isn't something where children stay young their whole life. They grow up, can't stop the march of time. So what do you do to think about the next level from VPK to kindergarten, kindergarten to first to grades beyond then? What's important, what's happening in your classroom, especially with reading, probably fundamental skill in school.
Well, I think one of the important things is that we do communicate so much that I will talk with Miss Green a lot and say, this is what we're learning, what are you guys learning? And I go to the VPK teacher as well, and we try to find common themes that we're learning, and we try to think of, one of the things I always say is, well, this is where my kids are at the end of the year, but where do they need to be at the beginning of first grade? Is that where they need to be? And, Miss Green, do you see anything that they need to work on so I can change what I'm doing in my classroom so that they are always constantly prepared for that next year? And having that communication and open.
So it's the teachers working together too. We talked about collaboration with the children and their learning, but it's also the teachers collaborating and working together to make the children successful.
right. Yeah, so like you said, you and I talk, and then I will talk with second grade and even third and fourth grade as well, just to see what's coming down the pike, I guess you could say, to see that I can at least introduce it to the student, so they have a little bit of background when they get into second grade and when they get into third and fourth grade, so that they know, they have some background in it.
So solid academics are a given at Trinity. I know that well, too. And we talked a little bit about some of the extras at the beginning of this. We talked about field trips and taking advantage of the downtown area for learning experiences. But on campus, what are some of the extras that you think kids get that are important to their development?
I think the dance program that we have here is really strong. Jolene does a really good job with not only our kids, but inviting some of the older students as well, not just girls, but both, girls and boys come out to the dance program.
We have the music with TJ, who teaches lessons as well as soccer shots. So they have all different aspects.
Spanish,
Yeah, Spanish.
Computer tutor is,
so many extras.
Sports.
and they get art and they get music and Spanish, like you mentioned, and PE, and so they get a lot of time to try different things that aren't just academics.
I mean, even recess. A lot of places, they've cut out recess. Those kids need to be outside and run around and just have time to just decompress.
And play.
And play.
So much learning comes from play and their imagination and creativity and social skills and working together, and play is so
Social skills
important
are huge.
in the younger grades. I think we have a lot of guest speakers that come in. I know in my community helper unit, I have parents come in and they teach about their job, and we go to the library and we learn about a librarian, and so opportunity for parents to become the teachers as well here, and the kids get a big kick out of that every year, and then they get to dress up as their favorite community helper and they present it to the parents, so they get a little bit of public speaking in there too, starting in kindergarten.
Sure.
Right.
And you mentioned parents and brought parents up. I think that generally parents would say that there's a family atmosphere here. What contributes to that?
I know in our classes, just speaking to them every morning and every evening, we're able to bond and create those relationships with our parents. And even though, we are growing, still letting them feel like they are so important. Their issues, keeping that open-ended, open door policy where they can come in and speak to us freely, I think is very important.
And
I think
go ahead.
I think it's very important that all the kids know each other. Our 8th graders know our kindergartners, know our VPK. We have chapel buddies, we have book buddies, and all those opportunities for all the kids, regardless of what age they are, to intermix. And so walking down the hallway with a parent, an 8th grader will say hi to one of my kindergartens, and the parent stops and is like, how do you know they're? I'm like, well, they're book buddies, and we read, once a week. And it's just that feel that everybody here cares about everybody and they know everybody and everybody belongs.
Yeah, it makes me reminds me of my growing up in Maine. You live in a community and it's everybody knows everybody else, and it holds people accountable because somebody's going to see them doing something,
Yep.
and your mom's going to find out if you do something wrong. And when you know everybody that is around you, it creates accountability and it creates trust.
Right. I mean, the kids know each other, and the teachers, the staff also knows all the kids, and we have a personal relationship with them. We know when there's something going on at home that might be affecting the way that they're learning or how they're acting right now in the classroom, and be able to work with them with that. One other thing we didn't mention earlier was that we have a counselor here also that works with the kids if they need that one-on-one time to talk. So,
And sometimes beyond one-on-one to small group encounters where kids discuss problems and how they're going to solve it,
Right.
and professionally guided to positive outcomes.
right.
So with all this going on, we've talked about kids, parents, downtown, and so on. It keeps you really busy. But we have to stay on top of our games. So what do you do to keep on top of developments in early learning for kids? How do you grow professionally?
Well, one thing we get to do every year is go to the Florida Georgia District Conference, where we get to meet with hundreds of people from the district, and we get to go to different topics that interest us, and we get to learn more and see how they teach in a different school and how they would do reading or religion. And it's a great time to collaborate with other teachers, not just at Trinity, but in our whole district as well, and get new ideas and get reinvigorated to come back to the classroom.
And there are lots of really good Lutheran schools in Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think continuing education also, having to have your license, you need to make sure that you're staying on top of the latest educational what's the word I'm thinking of? Trends.
trends, yeah.
Thank you. Those are with a T. So we're all licensed in the state of Florida, and that's something that's very important too. And in order to do that, you have to stay on top of those trends.
Same for VPK, licensing requirements?
Well, we, are required to have continuing education classes as well, and the state only requires a small amount, but Trinity requires us to have over twice that amount of hours. So I think that's something that kind of sets us apart, that we are constantly taking courses and like online or going outside to a classroom to learn new techniques, and then bringing those back and meeting with the teachers and sharing what we've learned, because we don't all go to the same things. We're all going to different things, taking different classes, and then sharing them with each other.
I was just about to mention that. I think that's one of the most important parts of taking those classes, is that we come back and we're able to talk with each other and share what we've learned, and then I can learn something that you have done and from a course you've taken. And so we really become our own professional development community here, because we're always sharing, and I think all of us are opening to walk into any other classroom on this campus and look at what they're doing and find something that we can use in our classroom as well.
Yeah, we also provide a subscription to online learning for our teachers, so that if we see an area where they might need a little more growth or concentration, we can suggest a class that they take online, or just make suggestions. And so that's been really, really helpful for us.
So I'm really thankful that we've had the cameras on us, because I think it's been a really rich description. I know you didn't like the cameras, but I think it gives our guests who are observing this an opportunity to see the kind of discussions we have, and we invite you to come and talk to us further if there's something you're interested in. That we've said that makes you think Trinity is a really good school. It is a good school, and we have a great connection from all the way from our infants all the way to grade 8. So join us.